All right, so here we are going to multiply some decimals together. So now, if you're okay with just multiplying whole numbers, then multiplying decimals it shouldn't be that much more difficult. Of course, it's just an extra little thing you have to worry about, but if you have the basics down, you should be okay with this. So now, the first things first. Now, some people set these up differently, but I always have to take the number that has the most digits, not necessarily the biggest number, but I like to put that on the top. So this number, 3 and 92 hundredths, has the most digits. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that on top, and then I'm going to multiply that by 4 and 7 tenths. Now, the one thing you might have recognized is that I don't have the decimals lined up. When I'm multiplying, I do not have to line them up. However, when I'm adding and subtracting, I do have to line them up. So in this case, when I'm multiplying, I like to put them all up against this imaginary wall over here. I like to put them as far over as they can go. Now, for a moment, I'm just going to forget about the decimals, and I'm just going to multiply normally, all right? So 7 times 2 is 14. I'm going to carry a 1. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 1 is 64. I'm carrying a 6. And 3 times 7 is 21, plus 6 is going to be 27, all right? And again, I'm still forgetting about the decimals. Now, of course, I have to move over. A lot of people put a 0 here. Some people put X. I just kind of don't put anything there, but I'm going to put something there just for us now. So 4 times 2 is to give me 8. 4 times 9 is 36, carrying a 3. And then 3 times 4 is a 12, plus 3 is 15. All right, and then, of course, just like if you're multiplying whole numbers, my next job is to add here. So I have a 4, 12 carrying a 1, a 13 plus 1 is 14. Carrying a 1, that's 7 plus 1 is 8, and that's a 1. Okay, now, two different ways I can look at this. Number one, I can count decimal places. So if you look here, if I just look at this, this top number up here, 3 and 92 hundredths. If I just look at the decimal and just imagine I want to move it all the way to the back of the number, to the end, I'd have to move it 2 spaces, all right? So I had to move it 2 spaces. Now for this number, 4 and 7 tenths, I just have to move it 1 space. So if I add these two numbers together, 2 plus 1 gives me 3. That is, there's 3 decimal places, all right? 2 up here, 1 down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the right of the number, and I'm just going to move in 1, 2, 3 places. And I'm going to place it there. And that's my answer. Now, the other way that you can look at this is if you just look back at this original problem right here, 4 and 7 tenths times 3 and 92 hundredths. I'm actually just going to rewrite it. So 4 and 7 tenths times 3 and 92 hundredths. So if I rounded, just came up with an estimate here. So 4 and 7 tenths is pretty close to 5, and 3 and 92 hundredths is pretty close to 4. So 5 times 4 is 20. That means my answer has to be someplace around 20, right? So it doesn't make sense for me to put the decimal back here. It doesn't make sense to put it here. That's 1,842. If I put it there, it's 184. If I put it there, it's 1 and that's 1 and change, right? So the only place that makes sense for me to put it is right there. Now, sometimes it's harder to do it that way. So it's really important that we know how to do this first way here, counting decimal places. But once you get the hang of it, you should be able to do the second way just by kind of estimating the numbers. Let's look at another example here. So I have 2 and 22. Oh no, I'm sorry. I have 2 and 2 tenths times 1 and 75 hundredths. So let's just do it. Let's just try this. 2 and 2 tenths is right around 2, and so 2 and 2 tenths is right around 2, and 1 and 75 hundredths is right around 2 as well. So if I estimate this, it should be about 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So again, the number with most digits I'm putting on top. So 1 and 75 hundredths, 2 and 2 tenths. Okay, so I'm multiplying here. 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1, that's 14 plus 1 is 15, and carrying the 1, that's 3. All right, and then of course, obviously I'm going to have the same thing here, so I'm multiplying again. So I'm going to put my first 0 there just for the placeholder, and then put my 0, 5, 3. All right. If I add this all together, I get these numbers. Okay. Now remember, we said our answer is someplace around 4. So if you think about it, if I put the decimal back here, the number is 3,850. If I put it here, it's 385. If I put it here, it's 38 and a half. So the only place it really makes sense for me to put it is right here, right? So I'm going to put my decimal here, and let's sort of just make sure that we do have it right by counting the decimal places. So for this top number here, I have 2 decimal places. Down here, I have 1. So it's a total of 3 decimal places. 2 plus 1 is 3. If I start here at the end, I move over 1, 2, 3 places. So there you go. Last example, and I think it's maybe a little bit harder to do the estimating with numbers like this, but we'll try it and see what happens, all right? So, so this number, 0 and 9 thousandths, is really close to 0, if I estimate it. And this 1 3/10 is really close to 1. So of course 0 times 1 is 0. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Again, most digits on top, that's how I like to do it, times 1 3/10. So 3 and 9 is 27, carry the 2, and then I have 2 zeros there. Of course, I'll put my placeholder, 1 and 9 is 9, and then I have 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3. So I'm left with a 7, that's an 11, carry the 1, and 0's there. So again, it's, so if my answer is right around 0, well, then the only place for me to put it is to make the answer about 0, and of course that would be right there. Okay, but let's just check to make sure we got it right. Let's make sure. So here I have 1, 2, 3 places, and up here I have 1. So if I have 3 here and 1 there, that combines for 4. So I'm going to start here at the end, move 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you go. My answer is 0.0117, or 0 and 117 10,000ths. So there you go. That's how we multiply decimals. Again, you don't have to line the decimals up. But again, I like to kind of put everything up against this imaginary wall here at the end. I think it just makes it a little bit easier. And up against the imaginary wall. And multiply like you normally multiply with whole numbers. And count your decimal places. All right, thanks for watching.